John Spencer is the chair of war studies at the Madison Policy Forum. He also heads up the Urban Warfare Institute and joins me now. Thank you so much for taking the time. It really is good to have you on the program. So let's pick up with this question of whether we will see U.S. boots on the ground and what that actually constitutes, because there had been reporting that the president is looking to send the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, that's some 2,500 or so troops, to strip Iran of its ability to essentially hijack the global export market there for oil and natural gas. And in fact, General Frank McKenzie has suggested that Marines could seize Harg Island and use it as a bargaining chip. So not bombing the infrastructure, as the president said they wouldn't do, but sort of a continuation after they took out their military infrastructure on that island. Do you think that that is the right call? Do you think that that would actually set Iran back and stop its attacks on energy infrastructure and open up the Strait of Hormuz? And a follow-up, does that then constitute boots on the ground?
Well, thanks for having me. Do I think it's a smart move? Well, I don't have access to all the intelligence. I definitely think the role of the U.S. military is to give the president options. And maneuvering those Marines into position is to give them options. Strategy isn't a plan that you start on day one and you just check off a checklist. It evolves in the uncertainty of what the enemy is doing. Definitely, that's a core Marine Corps mission, is to seize an island, hold it. Is it a possibility? Absolutely, it's a possibility. I'm not, of the boots on the ground. As a war scholar, I can say that the worst thing you could ever do is tell your enemy what you're about to do, what you're willing to do, and what you're not willing to do. So as the president said a few minutes ago, basically nothing's off the table. There's no plan. You don't want your enemy knowing what you're going to do. I can say with strong conviction that I don't believe people that want to take boots on the ground then transfer that to ground invasion, transfer that to nation building. I was a part of the invasion of Iraq, over 170,000 troops. That's not what I believe this U.S. administration is even considering.
And that is understandable. Obviously, you don't want to forecast or lay out to your enemy exactly what your war plans are. So then do you think the president made a mistake in that post, and again reiterating today from the Oval Office last night that Israel will no longer be targeting Iran's oil or energy facilities, because he said the United States had no role in that, but from all accounts, from multiple sources who CNN has reached out to, this was a highly coordinated expedition and mission by Israel?
I definitely won't speak for the president. As you know more than I do, he speaks his mind in a certain way. I believe that Israel has shown its immense capabilities to be an ally willing and able to support the U.S. in its objectives, but also it's its own nations that is doing supporting missions. What has been done in the decapitation strikes are more likely to change behavior than some other forms of maneuvers. And taking things away from the regime, like its supplies that it relies on, I think you couldn't say it's bad strategy, but I, again, don't have all the information. I take it all that we all know at its face value, and say that if the president believes that's not the strategy, that the United States and Israel, there's no daylight between the two, and they work hand in hand in developing a strategy to achieve what appears to be very mutual goals.
We heard there from the Defense Secretary and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs today that there will be more targeted attacks in Iran, striking at their ballistic missile facilities, obviously their drone facilities, missile launchers, and the defense apparatus there that produces all of their weaponry. And by all accounts, this has been quite successful. The ballistic missiles and launches have declined by 90%, the same as one-way drones, that the launchers have also been decimated, as well as Iran's air defense system. And yet you still see the IRGC today just taking credit for attacking Israel's gas facilities there in Haifa, striking its neighbors in the region and their oil and gas facilities. At what point does this become a war of attrition?
I think all war is a war of attrition by means to convince your enemy to do your will. So there is a difference between maneuver warfare and attrition warfare. I think the U.S. military and Israel have shown a historic capability to attrit the enemy's will and its capabilities, because you have to have both. Of course, the decapitation strikes, we're in uncharted territory. We've never been able to eliminate the entire political and military leadership in echelons. So the people that believe that we're not going to change the behavior that way just have no historical precedents to say so. Yes, the enemy is still fighting. Yes, it appears to still be using a very limited capability it has. But as General Kane said, as we continue to push into the eastern portions safely, and I think that can't be discounted, as everybody wants, this to end as quickly as possible. That definitely cost immense amounts of capability of the U.S. military to do that. But I'm also a student of war, and you can't just snap your finger and eliminate a entire nation this large's capabilities to do anything. But we're surely in uncharted territory in the amount of damage that has been conducted against Iran in such a short amount of time.
No doubt that they have been weakened substantially. This is a 47-year-old regime, and it's important to note we are in day 20 of this war. Also interesting to hear from the Treasury Secretary today, I think for the first time, have an administration official say that they are starting to see a significant sign of defections from leadership and the military there. John Spencer, Chair of War Studies at the Madison Policy Forum, thank you so much for your analysis.